Here's the Yom Yom for today and for tomorrow. It says that Yaakov, in the beginning of this week's Torah portion, it says that Jacob, Yaakov, that he left his father's house, and before he left Israel, so he said he stopped at a place. Rashi explains that was the Holy Temple, and he saw that there was a ladder, and the ladder was standing on the ground. It doesn't really say it was standing on the ground; it was standing groundwards, arza. It was a ladder was going down, and his head reached going up into the heavens. So it says this is talking about prayer. This ladder that Jacob saw, we can also see the ladder. In fact, religious Jews see it every day. That's the ladder of prayer. It stands on the ground. And it was even if you're in the lowest place, that all you're aware of is the ground, but you're just heard that their God exists. You don't feel it, you don't certain. So it's a ladder that's connecting the souls, that connects the souls and God, even though that's the ladder. It says prayer is the ladder that connects the souls, us, and Hashem and God. Even though this prayer stands on the ground, what does it mean? The beginning of prayer, Jewish prayer, is no more than acknowledgement. Now, in order to understand this, you have to look at a Jewish prayer book. You have to look at a Jewish prayer book. Jewish prayer is not just saying a couple of words. That's also good. That's also good. And if you can't do any more, that's sufficient. That's sufficient. But Jewish prayer, there's what's called prayer books. It's called a siddur. It's arranged. And it's arranged according to Kabbalistic secrets of the makeup of the soul. And it was arranged by the men of the Great Assembly, which the men of the Great Assembly, that was like, 500 years before the Tanaim Amoraim, the 400 years before the Tanaim and the Amoraim. It says that the Tanaim, especially, they had the ability to raise the dead. It says that each one of them had the ability to raise the dead. So this was even the closer to the giving of the Torah, the further back, the holier they were. So these people were tremendously holy, and they arranged the prayers in a certain order, beginning with the Psalms of King David, and etc. And it works up to saying Shema Yisrael, and then there's the Shemona Esrei, the prayer. Okay. So that prayer is a ladder. It starts off on a low level, namely just acknowledging that God exists. But the top reaches into the heavens, it says. Total surrender, total harmony with the Creator. One reaches this level by means of, first of all, you have to understand. And that's what's in the Psukei Dizim, the Psalms of King David, and the blessings of Shema. Those were written by the men of the Great Assembly. And saying Shema, that's a sentence in the Torah. So these are levels you have to think gradually and get out of your attachment to thinking about the world. The world doesn't consume your thoughts so much, and God starts to activate your thoughts thinking about God. And God is not real. It says the more you think about God, the more you realize that, hey, God is really creating me. God is more real than I am. It's not just an idea. Prayer starts off with an idea, but it becomes more and more real until finally it gets to the point where you realize that this world is the idea. This world is the idea. You can decide how you're going to react, what you're going to do. The world doesn't have such a tremendous effect on me. Money is not a real thing. It's just an idea. It's an idea that has to be used properly. But what's real is God. And God creates money so that we should use it properly according to God's ideas. But that only comes by means of prayer. And prayer raises up our thoughts, inspires our heart to be connected to the Creator more than to the creation, and to bring the Creator into the creation, why God is creating the world. Okay, that's Shabbat. Let's do the next day, which is, oh, I'm sorry, that's today. That's today. And here is Shabbat. My father said, this is the previous Rebbe, that saying Shema before going to bed at night. Now, in the Siddur, there's also a short prayer that has psalms in it and also different things. A short prayer, 5 minutes, whatever, and the main part of it is saying Shema Yisrael. The saying this Shema prayer before going to sleep at night, you're supposed to not just say the words, but you're supposed to think about the day, the previous day, what you did. This is sort of a confession before a person dies. Before a person dies, you're also supposed to say Shema Yisrael, right before you die. Listen, let's face it, everybody dies, right? Everybody's born and everybody dies. Everybody's listening to this. You were born. Everybody is born up to now. You die. Don't worry about it. There will be raising of the dead. But until that happens, so it says before a person dies, what happens? He realizes that his whole life was just this big gift, this big loan that he got from God. And so before a person dies, he's supposed to think, wow, did I do right? Did I use the loan properly or this? And it was, listen, I did bad things. God is merciful. God cares. Confessing, that helps purify the person. But there's a big difference between confessing before you die. You confess just between you and God. You don't have to go to the make it out loud or something. But the confession before a person dies is a little bit different, as is self-understood, before a person goes to sleep. When you go to sleep, it's also sort of dying. It says when a person dies, then he leaves the marketplace permanently. And the whole idea of correcting yourself is finished. But when you go, before you go to sleep, you say Shema Yisrael. It's something like dying, but you're still in the middle. You're going to wake up tomorrow and you can still fix things up and achieve things. Okay. Stop the share.